This happened a few weeks ago. Just finished a long expedition underwater. I've been a deep-sea diver for over 25 years. I thought I knew everything about the ocean. I returned to our little coastal town, eager to see Helen. I missed her more than I could say. When I stepped onto our porch, everything felt too quiet. The waves were usually there, crashing against the rocks, but now I heard silence. I found Helen outside, staring at the horizon. Her eyes seemed lost. I tried to shake this uneasy feeling, but it stuck with me. Over the next few days, Helen sat for hours, just staring at the sea. I asked her how she was, how the expedition went, but she only said it was complicated. I thought maybe she just needed time. I didn't know how much time would pass before it became clear that something was wrong. That night, I woke up to whispers. Helen was talking in her sleep. There waiting, I wanted to shake it off, to think it was nothing. I rolled over, trying to ignore it, but deep down, I felt a chill. Days turned into nights filled with more whispers. I didn't want to pry, but I worried. I started finding water pooling in strange places. The bathroom floor was wet. The kitchen counter had small puddles. There was no leak, but I couldn't see where it came from. I thought about mentioning it to Helen, but I kept my mouth shut. I wasn't sure she'd notice. Helen began collecting seashells. They lined the shelves, an odd mix of shapes. I picked one up, and it felt unnaturally cold. It was different from any shell I'd seen before. They seemed darker, as if they took something from the ocean floor. One night, I found her in her study. She had scraps of paper all over. I looked at them and felt sick. The drawings, they were of creatures no one should ever see. Twisting and spiraling shapes that made my stomach turn. I wonder what she was thinking. That I tried to reach out again. Helen, are you okay? She looked at me with wide eyes, as if I were a stranger. They're coming for me, she said, and I felt dread wash over me. Whatever was in her gaze, it terrified me. Who is coming for you? I asked, but no answer came. Instead, she pointed towards the window. They're waiting. I turned to look, but only darkness greeted me. I felt a knot in my stomach. Something washed over me. Helen wasn't the same. Days passed, and I watched helplessly as she slipped further away. I thought about the ocean, where I'd been trying to uncover its mysteries. Now, the true mystery stood before me. She wasn't Helen anymore. The woman I loved was gone. Something darker had taken her place. Was it my fault? Did I bring something home when I dove into the abyss? I didn't know, but one look at her told me I might never bring her back. I couldn't take it anymore. As days became weeks, I felt the weight of her absence grow heavier. I decided to leave the house. I needed to clear my head and maybe find someone who could help. I thought of Jim, my old diving buddy, but I never realized he would be my only lifeline. Finding him was easy. He had a small boat anchored a few slips down from where I usually docked. As I approached, I spotted him mending a fishing net. He looked up surprised. "What's got you out here, partner?" I explained everything. The whispers, the shells, the way Helen would just stare at the ocean. Jim listened, growing serious as I spoke. "Sounds like something else got a hold of her," he said finally. "You have to confront it." I wanted to argue. I wanted to believe it would go away if I ignored it. But deep down, I knew ignoring it wouldn't change anything. I went on about the drawings, the cold shells, and how lost she seemed. Jim rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "You need to go back to the water," he said. "Maybe something down there holds the answer." That idea struck fear into my heart. I had been under the waves many times, but never with such dread. But if there was a chance to bring Helen back, I couldn't ignore it. We agreed to go the next morning, just after dawn. That night, I tried to sleep, but couldn't stop thinking about the whispers. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Their waiting Helen's words replayed in my head. I knew that whatever wrapped itself around her, it was waiting for something more. I felt the darkness of the house creep closer. I needed to be brave. When morning came, Jim and I loaded up the boat. The water looked like glass, eerily still. I tried to shake off the sensation that something was wrong. We moved toward the area I had dived before. I could feel my heart racing as we approached. As we glided over the water, I noticed something beneath the surface. It was hard to make out, perhaps a shadow or a dark shape. I squinted through the waves. "What is that?" I pointed. Jim looked over but shrugged. Just the depths playing tricks on you. Maybe it was nothing, but an uneasy feeling bubbled in my gut. We dropped anchor, and I donned my gear. The deep-sea silence surrounded me as I descended. The light from above faded until I was enveloped in shadows. Then everything went dark. The silence was deafening. I felt something tug at my leg. Panic coursed through me. I turned to swim, but froze when I saw it out of the corner of my eye. A creature twisted and contorted, flowing like water, but with an unholy form. My mind screamed to surface, but I was rooted in place. That's when I remembered Helen's drawings. They're coming for me. I kicked off the fear. I had to get to her. I began to swim up, but the tugging force intensified, pulling me deeper. Then I heard it, the whispers again, rising and swirling around me like undertows. They're coming. I broke the surface, gasping for air. I panicked and looked for Jim, who wasn't on the boat anymore. The silence felt different now. It was punctured by something unnatural. I spun around, searching. That's when I saw a figure standing at the edge of the boat, looking right at me. It wasn't Jim. My heart raced. I had to get back before whatever its purpose was found me. I swam toward the boat, urgency clawing at my chest. The figure moved closer, silhouetted against the bright sunlight. Panic surged as I realized its face was blurred, indistinct. I climbed over the side, water streaming off my skin. "Jim?" I called out, my voice shaking. "Where are you?" The figure didn't respond. Instead, it reached for me, its hands stretching unnaturally. That's when I noticed they seemed to ripple like water bending around rocks. I stumbled back, my heart racing. "What do you want?" The figure hesitated, tilting its head. It was studying me. I snatched a paddle from the boat and raised it defensively. "Stay back." Then, in a voice that felt like ice scraping across my soul, it whispered, "You're too late." A chill ran down my spine. I dropped the paddle and took a step back, looking for any sign of Jim. The boat rocked slightly, a fresh wave of fear washing over me. I had to think. This thing wanted something, and it wasn't just curiosity. "Where's Jim?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure stared, and in an instant, it shifted. It swirled like a cloud of mist, and I felt a pull, a gaping abyss threatening to swallow me whole. He has gone just like the others. Anger surged within me. "What do you mean others?" I had to fight this thing, whatever it was. "What have you done to him?" "Come and see," it beckoned, its voice echoing in the air around me. With a wave of its hand, the water around the boat began to churn, and I fell backward, stumbling away. In a moment's panic, I turned to the side, searching for where Jim might have gone. That's when I noticed a shape weaving through the waves, deeper and darker than anything I had seen. It was almost like a shadow, but denser, moving with purpose. The whispers rose to a cacophony. They filled my ears. "They're coming for you," the water gurgled, and churned like a storm was brewing beneath me. I had to make a choice. I could dive again, perhaps uncover what Jim had discovered, or I could flee and leave all of this behind. But the whispers pulled at me, promising answers. I knew I had to confront this. Before I could think, the figure lunged forward, its essence now more defined, a face emerging from the liquid. I saw pain, sorrow, the look of someone trapped. "We need you," it pleaded, "to set us free." I hesitated. Then, in a reckless surge of determination, I grabbed my gear again. "Where is he?" "I'm not leaving without Jim." The figure twisted, and suddenly I was pulled under once more, deeper into the abyss. Darkness enveloped me, and I felt the weight of the ocean dragging me down. But this time I wasn't just scared. I was furious. I sensed something coming beneath the layers of fear and shadow, a truth I needed to uncover. And in that moment, as pressure built around me, I realized the fight for Jim's life had just begun. The whispers echoed louder. "You have to choose." The ripples stirred again, and I could almost see it, a glimpse of light breaking through the darkness. Whatever awaited me below, I would face it head on. The water closed in around me, dark and cold. I kicked my legs, forcing myself deeper. My instinct screamed at me to ascend, to escape this haunting figure. but the urgency in its voice chained me to the spot. "Jim!" I shouted into the void, my breath escaping in bubbles. I felt the pull again, but it was different now, more insistent, like a current guiding me. I forced my eyes open against the pressure and strained to see as I descended into the depths. Shapes began to form in the darkness. Shadows flickered and danced along the ocean floor. I squinted, and when I saw them, faces emerging from the murk, twisted in anguish. They were trapped, just like the figure above. "Help us," one voice called out, its tone a bitter echo of despair. "Where is Jim?" I gasped, the words spilling out before I realized it. I had to stay focused. I couldn't let the sorrow draw me in. "Where is he?" The figure from above materialized beside me, its form shifting with the currents. "You must listen. Our fates are linked." "Linked how?" I felt anger battling with desperation. "Tell me where he is." The figure hesitated. He chose to dive deeper, to uncover the truth. He didn't understand the price. A sharp wave of dread washed over me. "What do you mean? What truth?" In response, the figure gestured toward the shadowy shapes writhing on the ocean floor. I followed its direction, heart pounding. The closer I got, the clearer the faces became. They looked familiar, fishermen lost decades ago. Missing persons swallowed by the sea. "Jim!" I shouted again, my voice echoing through the water. "Why would I want to find you?" We were deceived. One of the faces croaked. "The sea hides secrets that should not be uncovered. He awakened us." I felt as if I was spiraling. What does that mean? What did he awaken? Just then, a violent shudder coursed through the water. Everything trembled around me. My heart raced as a giant mass rose from the depths, revealing a monstrous figure tentacled, writhing with black scales that glimmered like obsidian. The whispers turned into screams, drowning out everything else. "Jim!" I screamed, scanning for any sign of him, but the chaos enveloped me. My pulse throbbed in my ears, and I was trapped in a dark web of terror. "It must be appeased," the figure warned, "or you will suffer the same fate." I thought about Jim, the one I had loved, the one who had always chased mysteries and adventure. Deep down, I felt his spirit urging me to fight. The creature was a guardian of angers, rising to defend itself. "Why? What does it want?" I cried, my head spinning. Something ancient, something lost. The warnings continued to swirl around me, drowning my anger and fear. I realized I had to act. In that swirling chaos, I made my choice, the only choice that mattered. Then everything went dark. The icy abyss swallowed me whole, and I felt the pressure crushing my lungs. I needed to escape, but I couldn't leave without uncovering the truth about Jim. Suddenly, I saw a flicker of light ahead. I pushed toward it, heart racing, unwilling to surrender. Whatever lay ahead had to be faced. I would find my partner and bring him back, no matter the cost. I surged through the suffocating blackness, arms flailing as I chased that flicker of light. Panic clawed at me, but I could feel Jim's presence guiding me, like a beacon in the storm. The light pulsed, steady and inviting, as if promising answers to the chaos swirling around me. As I drew closer, the light expanded, illuminating the darker corners of the ocean. I could see strange patterns swirling in the sand, a mosaic of designs that looked almost unnatural. I reached out, instinctively wanting to touch it, but the moment my fingers brushed the edge, a shockwave surged through the water, knocking me backward. "Not yet," a voice cried, echoing through the currents. It was the figure from before, now shimmering with an ethereal glow. "You are not ready for the truth." "Where is Jim?" I shouted, but my voice felt small against the rising tide of my fear. I needed to know if he was safe. "It's too late for him," the figure replied, its form flickering with uncertainty. "He has become part of the sea's secret now. You must choose." "Choose what?" I snapped, desperation fueling my anger. I didn't come this far to back down. "Choose to uncover the truth and confront the ancient force, or turn back and leave Jim to his fate," it said. The ghostly faces that had been trapped alongside me shifted uneasily, their expressions pleading. I was caught in a whirlpool of emotions. The depths of the ocean had become a battleground between my fear of the creature and my determination to save Jim. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision settle heavily on my shoulders. I couldn't abandon him now, not after everything we'd been through together. With newfound resolve, I nodded. I'll face whatever twists and turns the truth presents. I have to find him. The figure gave a slight bow, and the light broadened into an almost blinding glow. Suddenly, a new shape emerged from the radiance, a figure that resembled Jim. My heart raced as I swam closer, but something was wrong. The contours of his face were familiar, yet his expression was cold, void of the warmth I knew. His eyes glimmered like shards of glass, reflecting the haunted souls around him. "Jim?" I called, my voice trembling with a mix of hope and fear. He turned toward me, and my breath caught in my throat. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, but his voice sounded hollow, echoing as if coming from the very depths of the sea itself. "You don't understand the cost." "What cost?" I pressed, desperate for answers. "What have you awakened?" "Something is coming for you both," he replied, the anger in his tone contrasting with the eeriness of his gaze. "It demands a sacrifice." Before I could respond, the water around us shook, and a monstrous figure loomed back into view, its tentacles reaching for Jim. I felt a surge of terror, but knew I couldn't back away now. "Fight it!" I screamed, but his expression remained vacant, as if he stood on the edge of a dark choice. The Guardian's form coiled tighter, and in that moment, I realized there was no turning back. Whatever lay ahead was a confrontation with the very essence of darkness that had claimed so many lives before us. In one desperate act, I lunged forward, reaching out for Jim, hoping to pull him back from the edge. But just as our fingers touched, another shockwave pulsed through the water, and then everything went black again. This time, I didn't know if I would rise to the surface or be pulled into the abyss forever. I floated in the darkness, weightless and unsure. The silence was thick, wrapping around me like a heavy blanket. For a moment, I feared I had been swallowed whole, consumed by the depths. But as awareness crept back, I realized I was still alive. I was still here, somewhere beneath the waves. Panic surged again as I recalled Jim's form, the hollow look in his eyes. I shook my head, trying to clear the confusion swirling in my mind. I had to find him. I had to understand what had happened. But the water around me trembled, and I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. Just then, I felt the current shift, pulling me softly but insistently. I let it guide me, moving deeper into the unknown. Lights flickered in the distance, soft glimmers, dancing like flames trying to escape the horizon. The glow grew stronger, pushing the shadows aside and beckoning me forward. I swam closer. The silhouettes of twisted forms emerged in the shifting light. Creatures of the deep. I could barely tell what was real. "Jim!" I called again, my voice trembling as it sliced through the water. "Where are you?" A rush of bubbles burst from my mouth as I swung around, searching every shadow. That was when I saw it, a final figure, much like Jim, but its features were distorted. Skin glinting like scales, and eyes that seemed to swirl with a tempest of emotions. "Help him!" it cried, its voice scraping against my senses like nails on a chalkboard. The haunting resemblance to Jim twisted my gut. "He is losing himself." "Where is he?" I shouted, losing patience. "What have you done to him?" "It's not us." The creature's face twisted with pain. "He chose a path beneath the waves. The call of the depths is strong. You must understand he fought. He fought for you." My heart raced. What did that even mean? "Jim, fight back. You can escape," I pleaded, desperate to ignite any spark of recognition in whatever remained of my partner. Suddenly, a deep roar erupted around us, shaking the water like thunder. The monstrous guardian returned, anger radiating from its pulsating form, tentacles writhing as if alive. "You cannot save him," it shrieked, echoing through the currents. Terror collided with a surge of anger inside me. "I won't let you take him." The words poured from my lips regardless of the fear coiling in my stomach. Rallying that desperate resolve, I clenched my fists and surged forward, pushing against the overwhelming presence. As I moved, the murky water began to part, revealing an ancient doorway carved into the ocean floor. I caught a glimpse of something powerful beyond it, a swirling vortex of light that pulsed like a heart. I turned back, urgency coursing through me. "Jim, we can escape. Come to me." But the figure nearby was fading, the edges blurring like memories before dawn. I caught my breath, but a cold realization settled in. If I stepped beyond that threshold, I was leaving the decision of Jim's fate in the hands of forces I did not understand. Before I could think, another tremor shook the sea, and the doorway beckoned. My heart raced. I had to decide, but with darkness closing in, time was running out. Would Jim fight for me, or would he become the Guardian's next sacrifice? I launched forward, propelled by a mixture of fear and hope, desperate to grasp onto something real. But just as I reached for the light, everything blurred and shifted again. Then, I heard Jim's voice cut through the chaos. "Don't leave me," he cried, echoing like a drowning man's plea. And that when I knew nothing would ever be the same again. I plunged into a new layer of darkness, and everything tightened around me. The current dragged me away from the glowing doorway, tugging me deeper into the bottomless abyss. Panic surged again. "No, Jim," I screamed, as if my voice could reverse the relentless pull. The spectral glimpse of him lingered in my mind, an image I couldn't shake. What did losing himself mean? Had he surrendered to this world? I kicked furiously, fighting against the pull, desperate to reach that light and Jim. Then, like a cruel joke of fate, the roar of the Guardian echoed around me. "You have chosen your path." Its voice boomed with a force that rattled my bones. I turned to face it, determined to push past my fear. I didn't just have to rescue Jim. I needed to find a way to stand against this creature. My instinct screamed that it wasn't just an obstacle. It was a test. Every pulse of energy radiating from its form felt like it was summoning something deep within me. Amid this chaos, I spotted a shimmer to my left, a glint of silver dancing in the water. My attention snapped to it, a siren call pulling me away from my battle with the Guardian. I swam in its direction, curiosity battling my fear. The shimmering object loomed larger as I approached, revealing itself to be a piece of wreckage, half buried in the sand. As I examined it, I noticed strange markings etched in what appeared to be a broken diving helmet. This wasn't just any wreck, it was from our past. My heart pounded in recognition. Had Jim and I been here before? Memories washed over me, fragmented and disjointed. Suddenly, the markings glowed with a faint light that pulsed like a heartbeat. They seemed to echo Jim's call, summoning buried emotions to the surface. "Jim," I whispered, running my fingers over the engraved symbols. "Are you here? Are you speaking to me through this?" A sudden rush of energy surged through the water, lifting me higher. The Guardian's roar faded into a low rumble, as if it sensed the shift happening within me. The world spun, and in a flash, the markings transformed into vision snippets of Jim's journey beneath the waves. I saw brief flashes. Jim submerged in strange waters, a mesmerizing light pulling him deeper. Twisted creatures surrounding him, their dark whispers enveloping him like a net. He was fighting for us. "Jim," I yelled, urgency coursing through me. I needed to reach him, to pull him from this madness. But then the Guardian reappeared, towering and ominous, blocking my escape. "You cannot unravel what has been sown," it growled, more menacing than ever. "No," I spat back. "You don't own him." I gripped the helmet tighter, feeling its power surge through me. I was ready to shove back against this creature. Then everything shifted. The water spun violently around me, and the glimmer of the doorway flickered in and out of my sight. "Jim," I shouted one last time, my heart pounding with fear and desperation. Would he hear me again? Before I could brace myself, the water erupted as a new force surged towards the Guardian. Someone or something was emerging from the depths, illuminating the shadows with a bright light that cut through the murky current. My breath hitched. This could change everything. But before I could process what I was witnessing, the ground shook again, and I found myself drawn into the heart of the light. I was swept away, unsure of what awaited me in this new realm. And then, everything went dark once more. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me. A strange warmth pulsed through the void, contradicting my fear. I felt suspended, floating, as if lost in a dream. I strained to remember what had just happened, my confrontation with the Guardian, the glowing helmet, the vision of Jim. Suddenly, I was thrust back into reality. Light burst around me, blinding and intense. I raised my arm to shield my eyes, try to blink away the spots swimming in my vision. When the light finally dimmed, I found myself on a shoreline, wet sand beneath my fingers, the salty air filling my lungs. Where was I? My heart raced. I scrambled to my feet, scanning the horizon for any signs of familiarity. The ocean stretched endlessly before me, waves crashing rhythmically against the sand. But something felt different. The colors were too vibrant, the sky unnaturally clear. Then I heard a soft, familiar voice, like a whisper carried by the wind. "Help me." It was faint but unmistakable. My heart leapt. Jim? Was this his voice? It felt so close yet distant, weaving through the air like a forgotten melody. "Jim!" I shouted, cupping my hands around my mouth. My voice cracked, but the urgency propelled me forward. I ran along the shoreline, the water lapping at my ankles. Each step felt heavier, as if the sand were grabbing at me, resisting my need to push on. "Help me!" The voice called again, more insistent this time, that I spotted a figure in the distance, half submerged in the surf. My heart raced as I sprinted toward it. As I got closer, the figure resolved into a familiar shape. It was Jim, but not the Jim I remembered. His gaze was vacant, the light in his eyes dimmed. "Jim!" I cried out, feeling a mix of elation and dread. I knelt beside him, my hands trembling as I reached out to touch his arm. It felt cold, almost alien beneath my fingertips. "What happened?" He turned slowly, the weight of my question hanging thick in the air. I didn't know how to come back," he murmured, the words strained and distant as if he were lost in thought. A chill ran down my spine. "What do you mean? You fought to come back, didn't you?" I struggled to keep my voice steady. My mind raced with the countless what-ifs and the horror of losing him again. "I thought I could be free," he whispered, his eyes darting away from mine, avoiding the truth that hung unspoken between us. But the deeper I went, the harder it became. I didn't just get lost. I became part of it. The punch of despair hit me. "No, Jim, you're still here. We can figure this out. We always do." I clung to hope, but doubt slithered into my heart. But as the waves reached higher, an unseen force began pulling him back into the surf. Panic surged. I grasped his hand, feeling the tug of the ocean around us. "Stay with me," I pleaded. "Don't let it take you away." Then I saw a dark silhouette lurking just beneath the surface, watching us. The Guardian. It loomed closer, ready to reclaim its prize that I had to act fast. Gripping Jim's hand tighter, I shouted, "Fight it! You're not lost. You're here with me." Something within me surged, activating the power of the helmet I had found. The markings glowed around us, illuminating the shadows, creeping in as the Guardian approached. I faced it with determination. Take him," I screamed, ready to confront the darkness. But the creature's gaze locked onto me, and I felt the weight of its presence swell. "Let us end this," I whispered, knowing that whatever happened next could change everything. The Guardian's gaze pierced through me, heavy and consuming. I felt the air grow thick and my breath caught in my throat. Jim squeezed my hand, his eyes wide with fear, and for a fleeting moment, I wondered if my spirit alone could combat the dark creature looming over us. "Let him go," I shouted, feeling a surge of energy pulse through me. The helmet's markings gleamed brighter, casting a silvery light that momentarily pushed back the shadows. The Guardian recoiled, but it quickly recovered, twisting its form in a grotesque display. "You cannot save him," it hissed, its voice a chilling echo that seemed to originate from the depths of the ocean. He has chosen the void. No, I shot back, determination hardening my voice. You don't get to decide that. I dug my heels into the sand, anchoring myself against the pull of the waves. Jim, listen to me. You're more than this darkness. Fight it. His face twisted with pain, and I could sense his internal struggle. I squeezed his hand tightly, willing my strength to reach him. We can break free together. Remember all those times we fought side by side? This is just another battle. In that moment, I saw a flicker of recognition in his eyes. He inhaled sharply, shaking his head as if trying to awaken from an unsettling dream. I don't want to be lost, but it's so easy to drown in it, he murmured. No, it's not. Look at me. I waved my free hand, desperate to pull his gaze back to mine. You're here with me. Focus on us, on the life we built. You are still Jim. I believe in you. The Guardian writhed in frustration, its form flickering in and out like a dying flame. He cannot resist, it growled. He is a part of me now. The ocean surged, rising over our ankles, pulling Jim deeper into its depths. I felt the cold grip of despair slithering into my heart, but I fought it with everything I had. Fight with me. Fight for us. I cried out, the words spilling from me like a beacon. You're not just a memory, Jim. You're my partner. We'll face this together. Time seemed to twist and stretch, and as the world around us faded into a blur, I felt a sudden rush. The very essence of the ocean surged within me, and the power of the helmet flared brightly. The light expanded, wrapping us in a cocoon of hope and defiance. With a final surge, I shook Jim's hand. Come back to me, I yelled, pouring every ounce of my being into those words. That happened. The Guardian screeched, a sound that seemed to ripple through the very fabric of reality. The ocean roared as the tide reversed, pulling back from us. I could feel Jim's resolve hardening beneath my touch, a spark igniting in his eyes. Suddenly, everything went still. The Guardian vanished into the surf, leaving us alone in a calm oasis where chaos reigned only moments before. But then, just as quickly, the waters began to churn again. I turned, scanning the horizon. Something was rising from the depths, darker and more ominous than before, a new threat, a harbinger of the final battle that awaited us. What is that? Jim's voice trembled beside me. I stared into the roiling waters. I don't know, but we have to face it together. As the shadows danced and the waves surged, I felt the weight of destiny pressing down on me. We were no longer just survivors. We were warriors, ready for whatever lay ahead. I clenched Jim's hand tighter, the fight not yet over. The water thrashed around us, the chaos relentless and electric. Jim and I stood shoulder to shoulder, heartbeats pounding in sync as shadows twisted beneath the surface. I scanned the horizon, where the glimmer of light I had seen earlier flickered dimly like a dying star. The air was thick with tension, and I knew whatever emerged next would test us in ways we could scarcely understand. Stay close, I urged Jim, gripping his hand tighter. Whatever comes, we face it together. With every pulse, the dark shape morphed an ancient, formless thing that seemed to embody all the fears I'd collected over these long days. It rose with intent, a swirling mass of darkness, intertwined with sorrowful whispers that punctured the space between us. You should have turned back. You cannot escape what lies below. Jim's fingers tightened around mine. It won't take me again, he said, momentarily steady, though I sensed his uncertainty. I won't let it. My chest swelled with determination, but inside I felt the creeping shadows of doubt. What if this was a battle we couldn't win? What if the Guardian we had faced only unleashed something worse? As the form approached, it expanded, tentacles writhing, glistening black against the water's surface. My instincts screamed for me to run, to turn away from this overwhelming force. But I remained rooted, trusting that together we were stronger than the darkness that threatened to consume us. Remember the light, I whispered to Jim. Focus on it. Moments passed that felt like hours as the darkness loomed closer. I remembered the markings on the diving helmet, the vibrant swirl of glow that had guided me before. If only I could harness that power again. I focused on the ground beneath me, the warmth of the sand, the strength of the ocean that was part of me. Let us call on it together, I said, mustering my resolve. In unison, we turned our gaze toward the depths and shouted, "Show us the way." The water rippled, responding to our call, resonating with the energy we unleashed. Just then, the surface erupted and light shot through the waves. It was as if time slowed, revealing the remnants of memories and hopes intertwined. Around us, the whispers began to change. The anguished voices of those trapped faded, eclipsed by a newfound strength. "Jim," I cried, finding courage in his gaze, an ember sparking in his steel-blue eyes. "We can set them free. There's power in knowing what we fight for." The darkness faltered as we released our shouts into the void, manifesting our fears as challenges to be endured. Each word poured from our hearts, claiming the space around us as our own. "We are not here to be taken." The monstrous figure hesitated, as if recoiling from our defiance. Hope surged within me as light ebbed and flowed like the tide, pulsating in time with our hearts. "Do you feel it?" I asked Jim, my voice filled with awe. "The light, it's growing stronger." "I do." His voice joined mine, unwavering. Together, we held fast to each other, channeling everything we had. Each moment of shared strength resonated through the water, and I saw in Jim's eyes the man I had fought for all along, a fierce spirit, wrestling against the weight of the depths. Then, a sudden rush, the creature surged forward, its tentacles flailing wildly, but we stood firm, locked in our resolve. The Guardian's lament echoed through the currents. "You cannot escape what is yours." "Perhaps it's true," I called back, heart racing at the eruption of emotions within me. "But we carry our choices. You don't own Jim." In that instant, a blinding light erupted from us both, bathing the sea in a warm glow. The Guardian writhed, shrieking as the light surrounded it, reclaiming the whispers of the souls it had bound. Together, we shouted one last time, igniting our shared will into an overwhelming force. The darkness recoiled, and with a final cry, it began to dissolve into the depths, leaving behind only ripples and silence. But as the echoes faded, I felt an unsettling weight in the air. Shadows shifted at the edges of my vision, a reminder that our victory was fleeting, that deeper questions lay unanswered. "What have we done?" I whispered as the silence settled over the waves. "I don't know," Jim replied, his expression distant. "But I think we've only begun to uncover the truth." The waters calmed, but the air was thick with questions I couldn't yet comprehend. As I looked at Jim, I realized the man I had fought to save was still there, but something remained tethered to the past, a connection that ran deeper than light could touch. That I moved closer, resting my head against his shoulder as we stood in the stillness. "What if it isn't over?" I mused, uncertainty gnawing at me. "What will come of us now?" "I don't know," he answered softly, his eyes searching the horizon. "But I think we'll face it when it comes." The silence wrapped around us, holding the weight of everything left unsaid, lingering like the shadows beneath the waves. The ocean might have released its hold on Jim, but deep down, I felt the unshakable truth the depths would always call, holding secrets we had yet to fathom. We ventured to the shore side by side, knowing that though the battle was won, the war against the unknown still lay ahead. And I, for one, was not ready to walk away just yet. As the ocean stretched out before us, shimmering under the golden sunlight, I couldn't shake the feeling that our story was far from finished. I took a deep breath, letting the salty air fill my lungs, and took Jim's hand. Together, we would navigate whatever dark tide awaited us next.